My nevertheless belongs to the Most High. I just finished a small patch in my hair that I hid in a hairstyle I did for work today. And while I was finishing it, it's as if I was what they call channeling, I believe. Bless her heart. And amongst other things, some things came through, some moments in time and memories, things that were said about a certain spirit that has followed me in this world. What I remembered it saying through a prominent man in 2022 was many things actually, but one in particular was I said something, and it must have been something like a prophecy, something foretold, or something I spoke as if I knew, but I didn't know. And your response to whatever I said was, you didn't get everything quite right, but that's expected. And even my face do that thing, because I was like, what is he talking about? I don't remember what I said, so I don't remember the importance of it, but it makes sense now. You have the things, you have my missing keys, but I don't need you. And that was the key lesson. But I didn't understand the aspect, the perspective of that lesson that I needed to understand to pass, to learn, to overcome. Maybe people aren't calling you David because they're mispronouncing your name. Maybe they're prophesying to you. Maybe it is spirit speaking through them, because when it makes your face do that thing, you need to stop thinking logically and listen. And that's what you don't have, which is what makes us the perfect match spiritually. I was thinking of yesterday's read, and I thought of it differently, like not like a read from the Bible, but like a psychic read, because I had no idea what I was talking about. I get it now. And maybe not all the way, which is to be expected, right? And so I have another read. And I'm realizing, I was like, Dad, you use the Bible. I keep saying he speaks to me how he speaks to me with the book. Confirmation. He uses the book like cards. Because the stories are cool and I can get lessons from the stories and like whatever else is in this book. There's a lot in it. But he always uses it like real time, or he uses it to help me make sense of something. Like the stories in it. 2 Kings 1 and 2. Did I read 3? At least chapters 1 and 2 make sense right now in a way I can't completely comprehend. In many ways, I can't completely comprehend. The fact that I was speaking in Spanish and picked up this Spanish Bible, that's for you. And I don't get that aspect, but you did say that you think that Spanish is your spiritual language that one time. It was the vessel that you used to speak through that masked the truth you were speaking, even though I heard it. But I've been walking this walk by myself, so I don't know truth when I'm hearing it. I know the feeling of it, but the logic, I can't. I don't do logic very well. I do it very well, but like I don't match it with what I feel very, like we have the same. It's kind of cute actually, in a super sick way. Doesn't have to be sick. But I've been looking at this for, I'm not exactly sure how long, actually. It's Samuel, 2 Samuel 20. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna read through 22 because 22. And I don't know what the story is or what it talks about, so shall we? NIV. Sheba rebels against David. I don't even know what that story is or what it means, or it brings up nothing. Probably heard it 100 times in my life, but just the fact Sheba rebels against David, I don't know, but I'm cackling. You see, like you have the logic, but you're probably missing this, but I have this and I don't know anything. You see how the key in the lock would fit? But you're probably afraid that I'd be better than you, even though we should just be equals. Now, a troublemaker named Sheba, son of Bichri, a Benjamite, happened to be there. He sounded the trumpet and shouted, "We have no share in David, no part in Jesse's son. Every man to his tent, O Israel." So all the men of Israel deserted David to follow Sheba, son of Bichri. But the men of Judah stayed by their king all the way from the Jordan to Jerusalem. When David returned to his palace in Jerusalem, he took the 10 concubines he had left to take care of his palace and put them in a house under guard. He provided for them, but he did not lie with them. They were kept in confinement till the day of their death, living as widows. Then the king said to Amasa, "Summon the men of Judah to come to me within 3 days, and be here yourself. 3 days. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But when Amasa went to summon Judah, he took longer than the time the king had set for him. David said to Abishai, "Now Sheba, son of Bichri, will do us more harm than Absalom did. Take your master's men and pursue him, or he will find fortified cities and escape from us." So Joab's men and the Kerethites and Pelethites, and all the mighty warriors went out under the command of Abishai. They marched out from Jerusalem to pursue Sheba, son of Bichri. While they were at the great rock, you know how they be like, there is no gender in tarot? That is hilarious. I love it so much. While they were at the great rock in Gibeon, Amasa came to meet him. Joab was wearing his military tunic, and strapped over it at his waist was a belt with a dagger in its sheath. As he stepped forward, it dropped out of its sheath. Joab said, "Amasa, how are you, my brother?" Then Joab took Amasa by the beard with his right hand to kiss him. Amasa was not on his guard against the dagger in Joab's hand, and Joab plunged it into his belly, and his intestines spilled out on the ground. Without being stabbed again, Amasa died. Then Joab and his son and his brother Abishai pursued Sheba, son of Bichri. One of Joab's men stood beside Amasa and said, "Whoever favors Joab and whoever is for David, let him follow Joab." Amasa lay wallowing in his blood in the middle of the road, and the man saw that all the troops came to a halt there. When he realized that everyone who came up to Amasa stopped, he dragged him from the road into a field and threw a garment over him. After Amasa had been removed from the road, all the men went on with Joab to pursue Sheba, son of Bichri. Pardon me. One of Joab's men stood beside Amasa, wallowing in his blood. Sheba passed through all the tribes of Israel to Abel Beth Makkah, and through the entire region of the Berites, who gathered together and followed him. All the troops with Joab came and besieged Sheba and Abel Beth Makkah. They built a siege ramp up to the city, and it stood against the outer fortifications. While they were battering the wall to bring it down, a wise woman called from the city, "Listen, listen, tell Joab to come here so I can speak to him." He went toward her, and she asked, "Are you Joab?" "I am," he answered. She said, "Listen to what your servant has to say." "I'm listening," he said. She continued, "Long ago, they used to say, 'Get your answer at Abel,' and that settled it. We are the peaceful and faithful in Israel. You are trying to destroy a city that is a mother in Israel. Why do you want to swallow up the Lord's inheritance?" "Far be it from me," Joab replied. "Seriously? Far be it from me to swallow up or destroy. That is not the case. A man named Sheba, son of Bichri, from the hill country of Ephraim, has lifted up his hand against the king, against David. Hand over this one man, and I'll withdraw from the city." The woman said to Joab, "His head will be thrown to you from the wall." Then the woman went to all the people with her wise advice, and they cut off the head of Sheba, son of Bichri, and threw it to Joab. So he sounded the trumpet, and his men dispersed from the city, each returning to his home. And Joab went back to the king in Jerusalem. Joab was over Israel's entire family. Benai, son of Jehoiada, was over the Kerethites and the Pelethites. Adoniram was in charge of forced labor. Jehoshaphat, son of Ahilud, was recorder. Sheva was secretary. Zadok and Abiathar were priests, and Ira the Jerite was David's priest. It's a bit hot. During the reign of David, there was a famine for 3 successive years. So David sought the face of the Lord. The Lord said, "It is on account of Saul and his blood-stained house. It is because he put the Gibeonites to death." The king summoned the Gibeonites and spoke to them. Now the Gibeonites were not a part of Israel, but were survivors of the Amorites. The Israelites had sworn to spare them, but Saul, in his zeal for Israel and Judah, had tried to annihilate them. David asked the Gibeonites, "What shall I do for you? How shall I make amends so that you will bless the Lord's inheritance?" Gibeonites answered him, "We have no right to demand silver or gold from Saul or his family, nor do we have the right to put anyone in Israel to death. What do you want me to do for you?" David asked. They answered the king, "As for the man who destroyed us and plotted against us, so that we have been decimated and have no place anywhere in Israel, let 7 of his male descendants be given to us to be killed and exposed before the Lord at Gibeah of Saul, the Lord's chosen one." So the king said, "I will give them to you." The king spared Mephibosheth, son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, because of the oath before the Lord between David and Jonathan, son of Saul. But the king took Armani and Mephibosheth, the 2 sons of Aiah's daughter Rizpah, whom she bore to Saul, together with 5 sons of Saul's daughter Merab, whom she had borne to Adriel, son of Barzillai, the Meholathite. He handed them over to the Gibeonites, who killed and exposed them on a hill before the Lord. All 7 of them fell together. They were put to death during the first days of the harvest, just as the barley harvest was beginning. Rizpah, daughter of Aiah, took sackcloth and spread it out for herself on a rock. From the beginning of the harvest till the rain poured down from the heavens on the bodies, she did not let the birds of the air touch them by day, or the wild animals by night. When David was told what Aiah's daughter Rizpah, Saul's concubine, had done, he went and took the bones of Saul and his son Jonathan from the citizens of Jabesh Gilead. They had taken them secretly from the public square at Bethshan, where the Philistines had hung them after they struck Saul down on Gilboa. David brought the bones of Saul and his son Jonathan from there, and the bones of those who had been killed and exposed were gathered up. They buried the bones of Saul and his son Jonathan in the tomb of Saul's father Kish at Zelah in Benjamin, and did everything the king commanded. After that, God answered prayer in behalf of the land, wars against Philistines. Once again, there was a battle between the Philistines and Israel. David went down with his men to fight against the Philistines, and he became exhausted. And Ishbi-benob, one of the descendants of Rapha, whose bronze spearhead weighed 300 shekels, and who was armed with a new sword, said he would kill David. But Abishai, son of Zeruiah, came to David's rescue. He struck the Philistine down and killed him. Then David's men swore to him, saying, "Never again will you go out with us to battle, so that the lamp of Israel will not be extinguished." In this course of time, there was another battle with the Philistines at Gob. At that time, Sibbecai the Hushathite killed Saph, one of the descendants of Rapha. In another battle with the Philistines at Gob, Elhanan, son of Jair, Arigim, the Bethlehemite, killed Goliath, the Gittite, who had a spear with a shaft like a weaver's rod. In still another battle, which took place at Gath, there was a huge man with 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, 24 in all. He also was descendant from Rapha. When he taunted Israel, Jonathan, son of Shemiah, David's brother, killed him. These 4 were descendants of Rapha and Gath, and they fell at the hands of David and his men. David sang to the Lord the words of this song. When the Lord delivered him from the hand of all his enemies and from the hand of Saul, he said, "The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. My God is my rock, in whom I take refuge, my shield and the horn of my salvation. He is my stronghold, my refuge, and my Savior." Sometimes you're David, and sometimes you're that other guy. From violent men you saved me. I called to the Lord, who is worthy of praise, and I am saved from my enemies. The waves of death swirled about me. The torrents of destruction overwhelmed me. The cords of the grave coiled around me. The snares of the death confronted me. In my distress, I called to the Lord. I called out to my God. From his temple, he heard my voice. Is this not Psalm 18 all over again? I'm at 2 Samuel 22. The earth Dad, you're so beautiful. You're so beautiful. The earth trembled and quaked. The foundations of the heavens shook. They trembled because he was angry. Smoke rose from his nostrils. Consuming fire came from his mouth. Burning coals blazed out of it. He parted the heavens and came down. Does that not sound like a volcanic eruption with like a tornado coming down from heaven? He parted the heavens down. Dark clouds were under his feet. He mounted the cherubim and flew. He soared on the wings of the wind. He made darkness his canopy around him, the dark rain clouds of the sky. Out of the brightness of his presence, bolts of lightning blazed forth. And I don't know all the scientific names. I loved science, by the way. Life made it really hard to get through the classes, so I never even made it to like chemistry. I would have been a monster in the best way. But lightning storms happen in like the most powerful volcanic eruptions. The Lord thundered from heaven. The voice of the Most High resounded. He He shot arrows and scattered the enemies, bolts of lightning and routed them. The valleys of the sea were exposed, and the foundations of the earth laid bare. At the rebuke of the Lord, at the blast of breath from his nostrils, he reached down from on high, and he took hold of me. He drew me out of deep waters. He rescued me from my powerful enemy, from my foes who were too strong for me. They confronted me in the day of my disaster, but the Lord was my support. He brought me out into a spacious place. He rescued me because he delighted in me. The Lord has dealt with me according to my righteousness. According to the cleanness of my hands, he has rewarded me. 22. For I have kept the ways of the Lord. I have not done evil by turning from my God. All his laws are before me. I have not turned away from his decrees. Confirmation. I have been blameless before him and have kept myself from sin. The Lord has rewarded me according to my righteousness, according to my cleanness in his sight. To the faithful you show yourself faithful. To the blameless you show yourself blameless. To the pure you show yourself pure. But to the crooked you show yourself shrewd. A little rude, a little obnoxious, a little arrogant. It's fine. You save the humble, but your eyes are on the haughty to bring them low. You are my lamp, O Lord. The Lord turns my darkness into light. With your help, I can advance against a troop. With my God, I can scale a wall. As for God, his way is perfect. The word of the Lord is flawless. He is a shield for all who take refuge in him. For who is God besides the Lord? And who is the rock except our God? It is God who arms me with strength and makes my way perfect. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He enables me to stand on the heights. He trains my hands for battle. My arms can bend a bow of bronze. You give me your shield of victory. You stoop down to make me great. You broaden the path beneath me, so my ankles do not turn. And the way he had me grab the NIV, though I read this in Psalm 18 from the King James Version. And it wasn't as smooth as this. He gives to you a little more easily. I'm gonna eat the bones. I'm gonna find the marrow. You ain't gotta do all that if you don't want to. He still loves you. I crushed them completely and they could not rise. Let me back up. I pursued my enemies and crushed them. I did not turn back till they were destroyed. I crushed them completely and they could not rise. They fell beneath my feet. You armed me with strength for battle. You made my adversaries bow at my feet. You made my enemies turn their backs in flight, and I destroyed my foes. They cried for help, but there was no one to save them. To the Lord, but he did not answer. They cried for help, but there was no one to save them. Oh, cried out to the Lord, but he did not answer. I beat them as fine as the dust of the earth. I pounded and trampled them like mud in the streets. 44. You have delivered me from the attacks of my people. You have preserved me as the head of nations. People I did not know are subject to me, and foreigners come cringing to me. As soon as they hear me, they obey me. They all lose heart. They come trembling from their strongholds. The Lord lives. Praise be to my rock. Exalted be God, the rock, my Savior. He is the God who avenges me, who puts the nations under me, who sets me free from my enemies. You exalt me above my foes. From violent men who you rescued me. Therefore I will praise you, O Lord, among the nations. I will sing praises to your name. He gives his king great victories. He shows unfailing kindness to his anointed. Keep going. For you, because he loves you. 23. The last words of David. These are the last words of David, the oracle of David, son of Jesse, the oracle of the man exalted by the Most High, the man anointed by the God of Jacob, Israel's singer of songs. I won't do it. The Spirit of the Lord spoke through me. His word was on my tongue. The God of Israel spoke. The rock of Israel said to me, when one rules over men in righteousness, when he rules in the fear of God, he is like the light of the morning at sunrise, on a cloudless morning, like the brightness after rain that brings the grass from the earth. Excuse me. Is not my house right with God? Has he not made me with an everlasting covenant, arranged and secured in every part? Will he not bring to fruition my salvation and grant me my every desire? But evil men are all to be cast aside like thorns, which are not gathered with the hand. Whoever touches thorns uses a tool of iron or the shaft of a spear. They are burned up where they lie. David's mighty men. These are the names of David's mighty men. Come on, Dad. Josheb, Bashbeth, and Takamonite was chief of the three. He raised his spear against 800 men, whom he killed in one encounter. Next to him was Eleazar, son of Dodai, the Ahonite. As one of the three mighty men, he was with David when they taunted the Philistines gathered at Pas Dammim for battle. Then the men of Israel retreated, but he stood his ground and struck down the Philistines till his hand grew tired and froze to the sword. The Lord brought about a great victory that day. The troops returned to Eleazar, but only to strip the dead. Next to him was Shammah, son of Agi, the Hararite. When the Philistines banded together at a place where there was a field full of lentils, Israel's troops fled from them. But Shammah took his stand in the middle of the field. He defended it and struck the Philistines down, and the Lord brought about a great victory. David's harvest time. During harvest time, 3 of 30 chief men came down to David at the cave of Adullam, while a band of Philistines was encamped in the valley of Rephaim. At the time David was in the stronghold, and the Philistine garrison was at Bethlehem. David longed for water and said, "Oh, that someone would get me a drink of water from the well near the gate of Bethlehem." So the three mighty men broke through the Philistine lines, drew water from the well near the gate of Bethlehem, and carried it back to David. But he refused to drink it, instead poured it out before the Lord. "Far be it from me, O Lord, to do this," he said. "It is not the blood of men who went at the risk of their own lives," and David would not drink it. Such were the exploits of the three mighty men. Abishai, the brother of Joab, son of Zeruiah, was chief of the three. He raised the spear against 300 men, whom he killed, and so he became as famous as the three. Was he not held in greater honor than the three? He became their commander, even though he was not included among them. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, was a valiant fighter from Kabzeel, who performed great exploits. He struck down 2 of Moab's best men. He also went down into a pit on a snowy day and killed a lion. Not a snowy day. Out there in the ville. And he struck down a huge Egyptian. Although the Egyptian had a spear in his hand, Benaiah went against him with a club. He snatched the spear from the Egyptian's hand and killed him with his own spear. 22. Such were the exploits of Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, he who was as famous as 3 mighty men. He was held in great honor that any of the 30, but he was held in great honor that any of the 30, but he was not included among the 3. And David put him in charge of his bodyguard. Among the 30 were, I won't do it. There were 37 in all. David counts the fighting men. Keep going. Okay. Again, the anger of the Lord burned against Israel. And he incited David against them, saying, "Go and take a census of Israel and Judah." So the king said to Joab and the army commanders with him, "Go throughout the tribes of Israel from Dan to Beersheba and enroll the fighting men, so that I may know how many there are." But Joab replied to the king, "May the Lord your God multiply the troops." What is that? Again, the anger of the Lord burned against Israel, and he incited David against them, saying, "Go and take a census of Israel and Judah." So the king said to Joab and the army commanders with him, "Go throughout the tribes of Israel from Dan to Beersheba and enroll the fighting men, so that I may know how many there are." But Joab replied to the king, "May the Lord your God multiply the troops 100 times over, and may the eyes of my lord the king see it. But why does my lord the king want to do such a thing?" The king's word, however, overruled Joab and the army commanders, so they left the presence of the king to enroll the fighting men of Israel. After crossing the Jordan, they camped near Aroer, south of the town in the gorge, and then went through Gad and on to Jazer. They went to Gilead and the region of Tatim Hadshi, and on to Danjan, and around toward Sidon. Then they went toward the fortress of Tyre and all the towns of the Hivites and the Canaanites. Finally, they went on to Beersheba and the Negev of Judah. After they had gone through the entire land, they came back to Jerusalem at the end of the 9 months and 20 days. Joab reported the number of the fighting men to the king. In Israel there were 800,000 able-bodied men who could handle a sword, and in Judah 500,000. David was conscience-stricken after he had counted the fighting men. And he said to the Lord, I have sinned greatly in what I have done. I remember this. Why? Now, O Lord, I beg you, take away the guilt of your servant. I have done a very foolish thing. Because he never should have counted them. He should have just trusted him. What are you doing? Before David got up the next morning, the word of the Lord had come to Gad the prophet, David's seer. Go and tell David, that is what the Lord says. I am giving you 3 options. Choose one of them for me to carry out against you. So Gad went to David and said to him, shall there come upon you 3 years of famine in your land, or 3 months of fleeing from your enemies while they pursue you, or 3 days of plague in your land? Now then, think it over and decide how I should answer the one who sent me. Three years, 3 months, 3 days. Enemies pursuing for 3 months, or 3 days of plague in the land. So like a 3-day 2020, or like paranoia for 3 months. Now then, think it over and decide how I should answer the one who sent me. David said to Gad, I am in deep distress. Let us fall into the hands of the Lord, for his mercy is great, but do not let me fall into the hands of men. So the Lord sent a plague on Israel from that morning until the end of the time designated, and 70,000 of the people from Dan to Beersheba died. When the angel stretched out his hand to destroy Jerusalem, the Lord was grieved because of the calamity, that word, and said to the angel who was afflicting the people, enough, withdraw your hand. The angel of the Lord was then at the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. When David saw the angel who was striking down the people, he said to the Lord, I am the one who has sinned and done wrong. These are but sheep. What have they done? Let your hand fall upon me and my family. David builds an altar. On the day Gad went to David and said to him, go up and build an altar to the Lord on the threshing floor of the Jebusite. So David went up as the Lord had commanded through Gad. When Araunah looked and saw the king and his men coming toward him, he went out and bowed before the king with his face to the ground. Araunah said, why has my lord, the king, come to his servant? To buy your threshing floor, David answered, so I can build an altar to the Lord, that the plague on the people may be stopped. 22. Araunah said to David, let my lord, the king, take whatever pleases him and offer it up. Here are oxen for the burnt offering, and here are threshing sledges and ox yokes for the wood. O King Araunah gives all this to the king. O King Araunah gives all this to the king. Araunah also said to him, "May the Lord your God accept you." But the king replied to Araunah, "No, I insist on paying you for it. I will not sacrifice the Lord my God burnt offerings that cost me nothing." Take me to the king. Don't have much to bring. My heart is torn in pieces. It's my offering. Laid at the throne. Leave me there alone to gaze upon your glory and sing to you this song. So David bought the threshing floor and the oxen and paid 50 shekels of silver for them. David built an altar to the Lord and sacrificed burnt offerings and fellowship offerings. Then the Lord answered prayer in behalf of the land, and the plague on Israel was stopped. As I'm sitting here, I see a fly go in his shoe. I'm sitting in front of the heat because it's cold in my room. But the heat is not comforting anymore. It's actually making me feel weak. And I'm tired because I'm just tired. But it's making me more tired. And the gravity of whatever this is adding to the tired. You love him in pride. Wait. Calm down. I didn't say calm down. I said just bring it down. You love him in pride. Your heart is torn in pieces, and it's literally all he wants. And so you don't have to go make him a beautiful thing or gather an armful of whatever. You make him wait to give him a Martha offering when he's asking you to be Mary, and just give him your heart. He said, why can't he keep it? Ted. He said you give it to him and take it back. He said you give it to him and he fixes it and gives it back to you. And you go do it again. Fix it for what? He said he gave it to you for a reason. And you've sacrificed. He said you've sacrificed it for every reason but the reason he gave you that heart for. Give me the words. I can't do it. He says, you pride yourself in keeping people safe and not hurting others, but you give your treasures to the wrong ones. Can you help me? I don't know if this spot is significant. It doesn't hurt in a way that makes me want to call the doctor. it hurts in a way that makes me wish somebody would kiss it and make it better. He said, imagine that's so unfair. But nevertheless, you know what I mean? Really? I don't know if that's tears or snot, bro. Hold on. Wow. Tears. Okay. He said, imagine, put how you feel in this vessel. Period. I had to sub that class again today for part of the day because teacher didn't come back off the plane. Her plane was delayed, and underneath the dress that I wore yesterday, I wore all black like the kids said. And they mentioned that today. Remember I said it means power to me. And then as I was leaving, this little girl asked me, am I pregnant? That's super random. I don't think anything about me looks pregnant. But again, spirit, there's no reason for me, no physical, logical reason for that to be a thing. And there's something significant about 3 days. I'll be here by myself with my little sidekick for 3 days until his parents and siblings get back. I didn't even mean to say that out loud. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really hot next to this heater and I'm tired. And this was just a lot. There's a lot. It's a lot. Anything else, Daddy? Something about this month. Before 2026. Apparently, we both have pride issues. We're both stubborn, but like my stubbornness. Pause. The same and different. Of course. I don't know what that means. My stubborn is because you're absolutely ridiculous and I'm tired. But I love you. I want you and I need you. And everything is gonna be fine.